Shalom, Israel, shalom. This is Teller Nicholas with the House of St. Nicholas and Vintage Saints of Israel. Today I'm doing a video about the how the Negroes ruled the Dark Ages. This is proof and evidence. This is short video and evidence of how the Negroes ruled the Dark Ages. Before I go into it, I'm gonna go into scripture. I'm gonna go into Proverbs 4, chapter 4, verse 5 through 8 through 7. And it read, get wisdom, get understanding, forget it not, neither decline from the words of my mouth. Forsake her not, and she shall preserve thee. Love her, and she shall keep thee. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom, and with all things, get understanding. All right? So this is history to prove that the Caucasian man that wear your surname today, that wear the English surname today, was in the Caucasus Mountains. He was in the outskirts of Europe, Shalakia. He was in the outskirts of Europe as a wild man and wild women, and a wild woman. You know what I'm saying? This is brief history about the wild men and the Moors. You can Google it yourself to do the history. And this proved that during 1440, the Negroes was in castles ruling Europe, ruling over Europe. And in 1440, the wild men, Caucasian, European, so-called European that wear your surname today, invaded our castles and conquered us. And by the time and through 1500s, by the time 1500s came, Salakia, we were submerged and completely submerged in captivity. Our kingdoms was falling one by one, kingdom by kingdom. You know what I'm saying? Um, but yeah, this is the wild men and Moors. You could Google this and get the information. Now, this is the Dark Age timeline. The Dark Age timeline is between the 4th century, the 5th century, and the 14th century. So the 5th century will be the 400s AD, and the 14th century will be the 13th century. I mean the 1300s AD, Salakia. Now let's read it. It says the Dark Ages were between the 5th and 14th century, lasting 900 years, which was the 1,000-year reign that the Bible predicted that we was going to rule. The timeline falls between the fall of the Roman Empire and the Renaissance. It has been called the Dark Ages because many suggest that whatever, that's bullcrap. But it was called the Dark Ages because the Negroes ruled, and thus we flourished. And during this time was during the times that the coat of arms and hereditary surnames was being given out. And the hereditary surnames belong to the Negro and Negro nobility of the Dark Ages of the 5th and the 4th, from the 5th century to the 14th century. You dig? Now, this is the arms, the coat of arms, when the coat of arms history started. This is the coat of arms timeline. So the arms, we're going to get into it. We're going to read it. Salakia. So arms became hereditary by the end of the 12th century, which was the 1100s. In England by King Richard I, who was a Negro, during the Third Crusade, 1189 to 1192, which was also the Dark Ages. From 360 AD to 1440 was the Dark Ages. Burgher arms were used in northern Italy in the second half of the 14th century, what was the mid 1300s, in the Holy Roman Empire by the mid 14th century. You dig? So this is small edification that show and prove that during the Dark Ages from 360 AD to 1440, the Negroes reigned, and by in the Caucasian wild men that was wearing that wears our surname today was in the outskirts of Europe as wild men and wild women. You dig? And yeah, man, the world needs to know this. Israel needs to know this, and our children need to know this, so we can wear our names proud and reclaim our heritage. You know, because we already know that we Israelites. So now we got to learn our dark age history to unite Israel with our surnames, because we're family in the Americas. The Negroes and the Latinos in America is one big family, and we all tie back up to Israel, to the motherland. You dig? But our history was not lost. Our history was left in Europe. You dig? But this is telling Nicholas in the house of Saint Nicholas with vintage saints of Israel. I hope Israel was edified, and I hope God gave your eyes to see that during the dark ages the Negroes ruled. Shalom.